A pleasant morning to you all. I am Dr. Vijay Lakshmi from the Department of Commerce, Sita Lakshmi Ramaswamy College, Tiruchirappalli. I am going to explain some of the accounting concepts of liquidation of joint stock companies. Before going to the accounting concepts, there are some conceptual definitions we have to see. What is a joint stock company? A joint stock company is an artificial person created by law having separate legal entity, common seal, perpetual succession and limited liability. What do you mean by winding up? Winding up of a joint stock company is nothing but it is the dissolution of all the activities of the joint stock company. When the dissolution of all the activities of the joint stock company is carried over, automatically that particular company is not legally existing in the business field. These are the steps involved in the liquidation process. Since the company is getting its dissolution, the board of directors or the company secretary, they are not empowered to take over the further activities of the company. So the court is appointing an independent or individual person who is known as the liquidator or official assignee or official receiver. After getting its appointment or nomination, the liquidator has to realize or sell all the assets which are all standing on the balance sheet, asset side of the balance sheet, and out of the sale process, he has to remit or pay or settle what are the dues or claims standing on the liabilities of the balance sheet of the company. After making the payment, if there is any money left in the hands of the liquidator, he has to pay that to the contributaries or the owners of the joint stock company, who are all known as preference and equity shareholders on the basis of their rights according to the Articles of Association. The Articles of Association of a joint stock company refers to the prime law or internal bylaws of the company, which is drafted at the time of formation or establishment of a joint stock company. There are three important prime documents to be drafted at the time of formation stage. They are Memorandum of Association, Articles of Association and Prospectus of the company if the company is issuing shares for to its general public. Then, if there is any deficiency in the case of liquidation, then the company may call upon its shareholders to contribute from the reserve capital. The reserve capital is the amount set aside by the company out of the authorized capital formed at the time of establishment. So from the name itself, we can derive the meaning. It is reserve, the capital is reserve, the amount is set aside and it can be utilized only at the time of winding up in order to meet the winding up process or winding up expenses. Then, after the order is received by the company from the court of law, its name is deleted from the register of member, and that is the stage of dissolution. Here is the kinds of winding up of the company. It is broadly the liquidation or winding up is classified into two categories: voluntary winding up and compulsory winding up. In the case of compulsory winding up, the company is receiving an order from the court of law. There are the following are some of the reasons for this compulsory winding up. If the company fails to pay its debt within a stipulated period of time, or if the company does not commence its business within 1 year from the date of incorporation, or if the minimum number of members in the case of public limited company is reduced to 7 and in the case of private limited company 5, and above all, if the court decides that or is of the opinion that it is just and equitable for that particular joint stock company should dissolve its function. In the case of voluntary winding up, we have two subdivisions, members voluntary winding up and creditors voluntary winding up. In the case of members voluntary winding up, the resolution of solvency is made, then that is known as members voluntary winding up. And if the resolution of insolvency is not at all made, then it is known as creditors voluntary winding up. Whenever the joint stock company is subject to dissolution or winding up, there are a lot of legal provisions given in the Joint Stock Companies Act of 1956 and thereafter its amendment. So the liquidator, he has to follow the order of payment given in the Joint Stock Companies Act. Here is the order of payment. First, secured creditors, then cost of liquidation, under that legal charges, liquidator's remuneration. The remuneration payable to the liquidator may be on the some percentage on the amount realized or some percentage on the settlement made or claims made. Then cost of winding up. Preferential creditors are those creditors who are all getting priority rights at the repayment category. They are, for example, what are the amounts available or due by the company to the central government, state government or any other local authority, say municipal bodies, pollution control board, etc. For example, rates, taxes, any cess to be paid by the company to these authorities, they are ranked as preferential creditors. Or if any amount is paid by the company or to be paid or due by the company to its employees in the form of provident fund, pension fund, gratuity and amount due under the case of Employee State Insurance Act or amount due under Workman Compensation Fund, etc. And there is another example for this. If any investigation expenses to be incurred by the company at the time of winding up, from section 235 to 257 of the Joint Stock Companies Act of 1956. So they are all categorized as preferential creditors, and in the order of payment, after secured creditors and cost of liquidation, the preferential creditors are to be considered. Then debenture holders having floating charge on all the assets of the company. The debenture is an acknowledgement of debt. At the time of issuing the debenture itself, there is a clause mentioning that the debenture holders are having floating charge on all the assets of the company. Then next comes the bank overdraft. If any overdraft made by the company from any of its bankers, then unsecured creditors for which there is no security is offered. Say for example, bills payable, sundry creditors, any outstanding expenses to be paid by the company. Then preference shareholders, they are holding the preferential rights at the time of repayment of capital and also at the time of payment of dividend. And lastly, the last contributory, that is the equity shareholders. If any money left in the hands of the liquidator, it will be paid to the equity shareholders according to their shareholdings. According to section 454 of the Companies Act, after realizing the assets, the liquidator has to prepare the statement of affairs and it should be handed over to the Register of Companies of that particular state in which the company is situated within 21 days. The statement of affairs is to be prepared according to the format given in the Joint Stock Companies Act. Of that, first in the format, the first item represents the assets not specifically pledged as per list A. In that, the assets which are not at all pledged or hypothecated by the company for getting any loan from commercial banks or any financial institutions like IDBI, IFCA, etc. The assets may be classified as balance at bank, cash in hand, cash at bank, sundry creditors, sundry debtors, marketable securities, bills receivables, freehold property, leasehold property, plant and machinery, land and building, furniture, etc. So, what is the estimated realizable value? This value is the value, saleable value. After that, though there is a different value given in the balance sheet, we have to take only the estimated realizable value, and the aggregate of this is to be taken in the amount column. Then assets specifically pledged as per list B. Here, name of the property, estimated realizable value due to secured creditors, deficiency and surplus is given. Say here the example, if you take the plant and machinery, the estimated realizable value is 1 lakh and loan amount is 70,000. So there is a surplus 30,000 which is taken to the total column of the aggregate. And land and buildings, here reverse case is there. Estimated realizable value, that is to the extent of 70,000 only the realizable value is there, but loan amount is higher than that of the realizable value, that is 1 lakh. So there is a deficiency 30,000. This 30,000 is ranked as unsecured creditors and it is to be taken in the format of statement of affairs as unsecured creditors given in list E. These are the liabilities. Secured creditors as per list B, then preferential creditors as per list C. After deducting these two amounts, if there is any surplus available in the hands of the liquidator, it should be named as estimated surplus available for all the other creditors, that is debenture holders, bank OD, unsecured creditors, preference shareholders and equity shareholders. Then debenture holders as per list D, it is to be deducted. In this case, we have to find that when there is a positive or when the figure is in positive, you have to state that as surplus, and if there is any negative, then it is ranked as deficiency. Then after deducting the bank overdraft, then unsecured creditors to be deducted. Till this stage, if the number is positive, amount is positive, then it is ranked as estimated surplus available for preference shareholders and equity shareholders. Then comes the items contributing deficiency, that is deficiency or surplus account. Here, excess of capital and liabilities over assets, debt, dividend and bonus, net trading losses, losses other than trading losses written off and other items. Item contributing to surplus, excess of assets over liabilities, net trading profit, profit and income other than trading profits and other items. Say, what is the amount left out in the hands of the liquidator after settling all the claims? Then it is to be distributed. Previously it is to be distributed to the preference shareholders. If there is any preference dividend, that is also to be given to the preference shareholders, and even after if there is any surplus, then the amount to be distributed among the equity shareholders according to their shareholdings. And if there is deficit, then the amount of, in order to offset this deficit, the company, joint stock company may issue and may ask the shareholders to call for the shares, and if there is any calls in arrear, that is also to be claimed by the company from the shareholders. After preparing this statement of affairs, it should be handed over by the liquidator of the joint stock company to the registrar of company within 21 days, and the maximum time can be asked for the liquidator from the registrar of company is 3 months. So within 3 months, all these processes are to be over, and after the notice is given by the court of law to the company, it is deemed as, the company is said to be as deemed as dissolved, and thereafter there is no legal existence from the point of view of the company. And what are all the liabilities shown on the balance sheet and assets shown on the balance sheet, they are not considered as the assets and liabilities of the company, and the name of the company is deleted from the register of member, and owners or the contributories like preference and equity shareholders, they are not treated as the contributories or owners. and what are the legal provisions given in the Joint Stock Companies Act with respect to the liquidator's remuneration. The company has to oblige for all these things. That apart, the liquidator has to prepare a liquidator final statement of account, which is known as the receipt and payment account, and he has to prepare that, taking the debit side all the receipts which he made from the proceeds, sale proceeds, calls in arrear, and what all the payments he made, that is for secured creditors, unsecured creditors, preferential creditors, and debenture holders, bank OD, then preference shareholders and equity shareholders. A copy of this is also sent to the Register of Companies. So these are the three documents: statement of affairs, deficiency account, and liquidator's final statement of accounts. These are the three documents to be submitted by the liquidator at the end of the dissolution process, and it is to be handed over to the Register of